You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as a Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey, y'all, it's Bridget here. Welcome to our Served Up New Orleans series, where the vibrant spirit of hospitality comes alive through the voices shaping the beverage culture. From passionate brand ambassadors and dedicated bartender resource activists to even a world-renowned burlesque dancer, this diverse lineup brings us a unique blend of expertise, creativity, and charisma. These conversations dive deep into the craft, challenges, and culture behind our communities that make hospitality truly unforgettable. Join us as we celebrate the heart and soul of hospitality that never stops inspiring. Hold on to your feathers, folks. Guest co-host, celebrated beverage pro Kyle McHugh and I are joined by the dazzling Trixie Minx, internationally celebrated burlesque performer, producer, and creative force behind some of the most unforgettable live entertainment experiences in New Orleans and beyond. Known for blending glamour, wit, and a bold sense of artistry, Trixie has built a career that redefines what it means to captivate an audience. In this conversation, she shares her journey, inspirations, and the magic that fuels her work both on and off stage. So grab yourself your favorite cocktail and enjoy this spirited conversation. Trixie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are so happy that you are here.
I'm thrilled to be here. I'm not sure what you guys are going to ask me, but I'm ready. I'm prepared. Let's go.
So glad. Can you take us back to your beginning? Can you take us back to that first moment when you were on stage? What was going on in your head when you decided, you know what? I love burlesque. This is what I want to do.
Well, it was sort of a funny story how I got into it. I used to be a ballerina, moved to New Orleans. I was taking dance classes and everybody I met just kept being like, oh, you need to do burlesque. And I was like, no, no, I'm a ballerina. And apparently the world did not think so. And I decided to audition for the show and I got in and they were like, here's a pair of tassels. You're going to be the tassel twirler. I was like, thank you. And then Hurricane Katrina hit like 2 weeks later and I found myself evacuating with a backpack full of like pictures, journals, and these two tassels. And I was like, well, this feels like a sign. Came back, got on stage for the first time. And I was so nervous because I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm not sure. And the moment I hit the stage, it felt like a fish to water. Like it felt right. Everything that I had been trying to do through ballet and other dance forms had always been wonderful, but there was always this sort of, I don't even want to say negative, but just it wasn't as wonderful, positive, encouraging as I found through burlesque. And from there, I just couldn't get enough. And now I'm the queen, and I don't even know how that happened.
Well, we're going to talk more about that.
It's
for sure. But, you know, burlesque has been around for a long time. This is not a new form of dance. No. It really isn't. Can you talk a little bit about its history?
Yeah, I think as long as people have been taking off their pants and dancing, this has been going on. There's historically, if you look in the Bible, there's the Dance of the Seven Veils. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is the first recorded version of a striptease. But realistically, there were different reasons for it. But what I find most interesting is the fact that it allowed women specifically to not only have ownership of their person, but get access to money and funds, which then transferred to power, and able to represent themselves in society the way in which they wanted to. Yeah, burlesque has been going on forever, but where it relates to New Orleans specifically is in the 1950s and 60s. You had the golden era of burlesque, and it was this perfect, like, melting pot of New Orleans jazz. You're at the mouth of the Mississippi, so you're the gateway of the Americas. So you have not just people traveling in from South America or wherever, but you also have military people. You have people coming in from Chicago down the river. Like, it's just the midway point for all these things. And they wanted to go out and have a good time. And what pairs perfectly with music and booze?
Burlesque.
It was a win-win situation. And it just, it was nice. It was sort of like the equivalent to how you would see a movie nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you go have dinner, go see a movie, go out for a couple drinks, then come home. It was a show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, exactly.
As you've learned more about that history and then now been a part of modern burlesque history, like since that post-Katrina time, that first time on stage, how have you seen burlesque change and evolve? Like, where are we in the, we have a modern renaissance of drinks. Are we in a modern renaissance of burlesque?
We are in the neo-burlesque movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we call it. It's neo-burlesque. So there's these three sort of standards, and you have the start of burlesque in the golden era in the 50s and 60s, and then you have the neo-burlesque scene, which takes place in the 90s. So basically what happened between the glory days is that you all of a sudden have strip clubs and you have this sexual revolution. So burlesque becomes old-fashioned. But what happens is in the 90s, it becomes less about performing as a form of entertainment and more about taking the stage to reclaim yourself, your person, your body. This is when you start to see, like, there have always been people of all genders, shapes, sizes, ages, races performing burlesque, but what tended to get promoted was the traditional, like, what the male gaze might be attracted to. Sure. And all of a sudden you have a change and you see these people performing for themselves, and it gets really clever and exciting. And so that happened in the 90s in New York, New Orleans, and LA. It was sort of like collectively, like a collective consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's changed to where it's happened today is people have taken it and just run with it. And I think a lot of this has to do with drag's popularity as well. I credit RuPaul Drag Race with bringing a lot of just sort of people that, because drag's been around forever too. They just wasn't as, I guess, like mainstream. And when doing that, then all of a sudden it was easy for burlesque to come up with it. Which, like, the movie Burlesque is not, in my opinion, a perfect representation of what burlesque is or can be. However, it did bring a lot of name recognition with it. And then you also see these giant brands like MAC Cosmetics, to bring it back to the alcohol absolute, where they all of a sudden do partnerships with other artists, and you're able to see these artists on a much larger scale, and people recognize, oh, it's not just somebody in feathers and like sparkly underwear. It's like, oh, they actually are trying to say something or do something or express. So I think that's what I love most about it now, is that it is completely whatever you want to make it with whoever you want to make it. So the creativity is insane.
You talk a little bit about, empowering yourself, right? So how do you use burlesque as a platform for empowerment, both off stage and on stage?
Well, personally, I think that, burlesque means it's the art of tease, and it comes from this Latin root meaning burla, to joke. And the reason why I bring this up is, like, that's what people are always pushing as the definition, but what the actual reality of what it does is it forces you are the instrument. Like, you can cover yourself with all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, you can't, it's you and it's your body, and you can be a different character or a different whatever. But when you take off a glove and you're showing your hand, and we all have hands, like nobody cares, but you make it something special, and the audience like builds it up for you, and you're literally like celebrating the human form. A hand, which means like, it's nothing, like it's a hand, but all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's a hand! Look what it's doing! Like, it's like you build this excitement, and it sounds so crazy, but like, that is where the empowerment comes in. It's not simply the stripping of clothes; it's the revealing of your person, the revealing of your body, the celebrating of others. Like, it's very much burlesque. I don't think can be done without audience participation. They work together, and the audience builds up the performers build up the audience. And there are so many people that come up to me after shows and they're like, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. And even if they don't do it on stage or professionally, like they go home and they're like, I can do it. Like I feel good. And it's about feeling good for yourself as well. Obviously that can't be like that's sort of like a fringe benefit. I feel like when you perform, it should be about like the whole art, the production, everything. But it has been huge. Like personally, the reason why I think I love it so much is, and I'm very open about this, but like I used to have eating disorders when I was a ballerina. And this was one of these things that like really helped me move past that, was like, oh, all bodies are good bodies. Like we're upright, we're moving. And even if you're not, like make it work, shine, kick a leg, figure something out, do a fan kick, have somebody push you around. Like and it's crazy because you can. Like it's amazing.
On that note, I mean, in your journey, you started off as a dancer. You're still performing today, but you've done so much more for the community. And you were just talking about how people come up to you all the time, like, I want to do that. You have let how many people do that professionally as well as recreationally, right? What are some of those initiatives you have going on in New Orleans and now abroad to some degree?
Thank you for asking. I'll toot my own horn. I have a little school. We had it under Trixie's Burlesque Boutique. We're recently changing locations. But we started, we would do burlesque classes for people for parties and events, but there was a desire to actually build. People wanted to do it and take like workshops and classes. So we built it and it started happening. And it was so popular, we started getting a request for one that was geared more towards like masculine presenting people too. And a lot of it that was very interesting was a lot of trans men came to take the class because they wanted to just be able to move more masculinely and embrace their bodies again. And so that's been a really beautiful thing I call them my babies, my burlesque babies. But my students, whether they go on to do it professionally, recreation, or if they never even perform at all, they just take the class and that's enough for them. It's something that it educates them on the sort of groundwork that's been done before us, but also brings them into what is possible to do, not just in burlesque, but for themselves.
I love that. You know, in burlesque in NOLA, it doesn't just live like on stage, right? No, it spills into the bars, into the lounges, and like just the historic venues that are throughout this city. So how do you see burlesque continuing to the city's hospitality economy and the culture of tourism?
I think it's necessary and interesting because I had actually talked to somebody about this. If you come to New Orleans once, you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it's great. But if you're coming annually, for example, for Tales, or for, whatever trip, you're just coming again and again, there's only so many times you can hear the same jazz band, have the same cup of gumbo at the same restaurant, and you should explore. And it should be, there's nothing wrong with the classic, but you should also grow your experience. And I think what burlesque does is it is a huge part of the city's culture, but it doesn't need to be something that's hidden or bad or that's, just for the adults. It is just for the adults, but just naughty. Yes. It doesn't have to be. It can be so much more. And it's funny when you talk about bringing in with just tourism and bar sales and stuff like that. There's a lot of crossover. I did a talk with Poppy Tooker actually about this.
I love Poppy.
I love Poppy too. Louisiana Eats.
Oh, yeah, she's the best.
She is the best. She's amazing. But we were talking about how with burlesque, you have the classic girl in the champagne glass. That's Dita Von Teese's trademark routine is she's in a martini glass. A lot of people have champagne coupes, but burlesque lends itself to beverage service. So when you have an event, it's not simply, we hired a dancer for the event, but you can have a dancer that's in a champagne skirt. You can have an aerialist pouring champagne. You can have a dancer in a champagne glass, pouring champagne or whatever, mixing cocktails, etc. But it's done in a way where you're also helping, the artist is helping elevate the brand or the liquor by giving it some new, exciting way to get to the consumer, but also it's giving the artist an additional form of payment, an additional way to make money in their craft without necessarily doing performance. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it just needs to, everything needs to grow. Food, drinks, everything. And like, again, you can never mess with the classic, but if you don't at least elevate or innovate, it can get tedious.
And you're doing a lot of that now, right? I mean, because you have Trixie Minx Productions, quite the entrepreneur, the puppet mistress. What is? So you're working with more artists than just dancers, too, right? I mean, really, you're employing people all over. Again, not even just New Orleans, but increasingly around the country, of all different kinds of talents, and not just the arts, but magicians and right. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this was a giant accident. None of this was supposed to happen. I was literally just trying to do something fun, and then this happened. And that's I mean, literally, that's how it happened. I was working in a show, my very first show. The producer was horrible, and I was like, I almost quit. And then I had a bunch of people like, we really think you should keep doing it. So I started my show, and I knew that a show that was just burlesque. Again, when we talk about innovation, there's nothing wrong with a classic burlesque show, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to add in aerial and magic and later storylines and why not build it? And that's how Trixie Minx Productions grew. We had done, and then people would hear about it and they'd be like, can you do our event? Can you do this party? Can you do this? And it just started to grow. And I remember one year I got my taxes back and they were like, yeah, you owe this much. I was like, but I didn't make that much money. It's like, you did through all these people. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have a business I didn't know about at all. I wasn't prepared. And so then we made it official. But yeah, that's the other nice thing about it is that most of these artists are not limited. And you'll find this with musicians too. And I'm sure with bartenders, they're obviously multifaceted humans that have more than one skill set. So somebody that's a burlesque dancer might also be a costumer, might also be an aerialist, might also, be a singer. It doesn't even matter. But when you are able to not box people into just this is what you do, but this is what you are capable of doing, then everybody's able to, when one of us rises, we all rise.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how it feels.
Absolutely. And you've done such great work, lifting others up. Can we talk about some of the advocacy work that you have done?
Yes. Yeah. I used to work a lot with the New Orleans Musicians Clinic, specifically during the pandemic when we weren't working. We did this whole food drive situation where we would bag groceries and get them to older performers or culture bearers. So like Mardi Gras Indians, they call them baby dolls, like the women who dance at the parades and stuff like that. And it was one of these things that's when you could really see, we had already done blood drives and stuff like that, but like the sort of community effort. And from there, it just became very apparent that there's so many people that want and can, but they just don't. We've talked about this before where it's like people will go to who they know in the room, not necessarily who is capable in the room.
Yeah.
And that's when it was like, you know what? I know you want to hire me, but I would love to bring in this person who really is going to be the perfect fit, or this person. And it's amazing because you see a lot of that in New Orleans right now, specifically, because I truly think the pandemic was a sort of a great way to wipe the slate clean and build again from the ground up. And everybody, like, we all had to start over. So it was really nice to be like, okay, cool, let's bring you up. Let's bring you up. Let's all win in that situation.
Yeah, it's really super amazing. And I know that as someone who you collaborate very closely, with bars, with restaurants, with live venues, right? I mean, it's such a blurred line from hospitality to the arts because it's so intermingled. It's all service.
That's
and so, how do you think that the hospitality industry benefits from the arts, from the performance arts specifically, and here in New Orleans, and what more can be done to strengthen that relationship?
I think it's definitely, they work together. Like, for example, when you have a show, somebody is literally locked and loaded in that venue, that bar. So like somebody that might go out for a drink, 2 drinks or whatever, and then they're done. This is sort of like, you're here. So you're going to be here. So you're going to drink. And even if you're like, you're going to bring other people with you to there is a reason to be here. There's a reason to, be present and spend your money, not just on the performers, but in the venues with the bartenders, et cetera. I don't know. I feel like it works just together because the performers give people a reason to come, and then the bartenders just, again, like they're the support and they're like, we got you now that you're here. But then at the same time, that's something nice too, that even when the performers are not there, they might have brought somebody into that venue that would not normally have been in that venue. So then they can come back when it's just working as a bar. Like we were talking about that with Toulouse Theater. I have a show that runs there. Been there for almost 20, it'll be 20 years this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
And but that bar's gone through so many things. That bar used to be One Eye Jackson. Before that, it was the Shim Sham. And this bar is part of the neo-burlesque movement. This is where the Shim Shamettes started, which was the first like major group in the early aughts, late 90s, to really bring back sort of vintagey burlesque. So it's cool to be able to continue that legacy with them. But it's the same thing. Like it really is bringing attention to the bar where somebody's like, why would I go here? You know, because you might have Patos that like has a more popular like reputation just because of the hurricane and all that stuff. And then it's like, well, but we can go here and there's still all these, it's a beautiful bar and beautiful experience. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very much intertwined.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually bartended here in New Orleans prior to being Trixie Minx. And I was in school and I was like, I need a side hustle. And I was working at a restaurant and one of my friends, this is so crazy. She was working the Playboy Mardi Gras party at this bar and found out she was pregnant. And this was back when you could smoke in bars. And she's like, I can't be in the bar. I'm pregnant. She's like, can you do it? I was like, I don't know how to bartend. They're like, we'll give you a quick crash course. Like I already had my ABC card. It was like, let's go, go, go. And I learned how to make drinks. And that first Mardi Gras is really what changed my life. And then what I think a lot of people don't recognize is that the income you can make from bartending or working service in the city is honestly what like allowed me to be able to have the flexibility to become Trixie Minx and stuff like that. Like I was able to know that I didn't have to make all my money off a show when I first started because I was still like had my hands in different pots and it was great. But yeah, no, it was incredible. I think everybody should be required to work service at some point in their life if they're going to eat in a restaurant or drink at a bar.
Yes.
It's like
it again from the rooftop.
For the kids at home.
Yes. Everyone should work in hospitality. Everyone should, because it teaches you so many skills.
And it teaches you, like, above all, like, just how to be a decent human being.
Yes.
Because, like, that's the thing, is that when people are like, give me this, give me that, give me that. I was like, I know your mom didn't say that. I know your mom taught you better. And now you're just being bad. So that's the thing, is like, you got to, like, learn, become a server, even if it's just for, like, a month, or a bartender, just to have the experience about what it feels to work in service. And it will change your experience when you dine out for the rest of your life.
Yeah, change your life.
Yeah.
It changed your life.
Oh, totally. 100%.
What for you, I mean, coming out of other forms of dance and then finding burlesque again 20 something years ago now, what doors has that opened for you? Like, name a moment or two where you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now.
Performing at the Kennedy Center, 100%.
Wow.
When I was a little girl, or a teenager, I trained at the Kennedy Center with Suzanne Farrell. And that was an amazing experience. And to go back decades later with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band, with Big Frida, of all people, my dancers, there was so many people like involved in this project. It was this crazy collaborative project. And to be on the stage in the venue that we had, like, I spent myself, like, I know this place, but I was there as a ballerina. And then to come back, and I had this sort of full circle moment where I ran into American Ballet Theater, was also performing at one of the theaters there. And my dance teacher from Miami was now a director, or not a director, but she was doing something with the coaching over there. And I ran into her in the hall and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm in a blonde wig and sparkles and she's got her dance bag on. It's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? But it felt amazing to be able to take what we do and be able to bring it into an actual space that celebrates arts in America, and then to have it recognized among so many other people. I thought that was my like full circle, like, holy, I don't know if I'm allowed to say shit, but like, shit, like, holy shit. It was crazy. It was crazy. That for sure. but also it's allowed me the ability to travel. I joke that I never actually go anywhere without a wig and a pair of pasties, but like I've been able to go to Australia, Switzerland for whatever reason. I end up there a lot, like, all over the United States, Mexico, like the cruises randomly, like just like, and it's one of these things that it's not like the travel is nice, but the representation of New Orleans and this art form, there are so many people that are like, oh, I didn't know it could be done like that. And that is the like aha moment of like, yay. Like,
well, you're the queen for a reason.
I've been here long enough. If you do it long enough, they'll give you a crown. It's true. I'm the queen of cheese too. I don't know if you know that.
Quite literally.
Like the queen of cheese, like dairy products. But that was something I spoke
Wait, did you say you're the queen of cheese?
Yes.
Okay. Why? How?
I really like cheese. I can't
love
cook.
cheese too. I thought I was the queen of cheese, but
well, I mean, it's more regional. So maybe you are the queen of cheese.
Okay. Of Shorewood, Illinois, where I live. Okay.
I don't know. You have to talk to your people. Like
that's amazing.
I don't know, like the government over there, but here they had a cheese festival. I really like cheese. It's lovely, and I wanted to be involved, and I think I scared them with my enthusiasm. So I instead
you're legit the queen of cheese.
No, like they gave me a crown and everything. Like I talk at the festival in a dress.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Not at all. I celebrate you, and I celebrate all things cheese. It's amazing.
It is amazing when you're performing, and then people like come and bring you cheese when you're not expecting it, like that.
Surprise cheese.
That's another thing we're talking about. Like, how did burlesque get you the free cheese? That's amazing.
You were in it for the free cheese. You didn't even know it.
I didn't know at the time, and now I'm like, yes.
Okay, so then if you could host the ultimate dinner party, first of all, who would you invite? What would you serve? And what would the attire be?
Okay, well, do they have to be alive?
No,
is the problem.
Of course not. We're in New Orleans.
I love it.
Not at all. They can be ghosts.
Marilyn Monroe, Lucille Ball, for sure. Steve Martin. Probably Will Ferrell, just put him in. It's basically just going to be a bunch of comedians. And like, we're just going to sit down and we're probably going to have to order in because I can't cook. So I'm thinking pizza just because that's easy and everybody likes it. But like, we'll probably stick to wine and beer just because like you can't mess that up, especially if you're drinking said wine or beer, like when it gets really messy. But the food would be terrible. But we would have the entertainment would be amazing though.
It would be amazing.
It would be great.
It would be so amazing.
I feel like everybody likes pizza. Probably pizza.
Well, there's cheese involved, so right away you're halfway there.
Great.
It's an easy food.
Where can our listeners and viewers find you?
You can always find me on, I feel like I should look into the camera. You can find me on my website, trixieminx.com. If that's too creepy for you, find me on Instagram at Trixie Nola. That's TRIXIENOLA. Or find me in New Orleans, which is the best place to find me because then you can find me at a show.
I can't tell you how much that we are just so honored that you took time to come on Served Up. You are such an icon in the industry, not just, in burlesque, but in hospitality as well, because you have performed and have uplifted so many venues that brings in jobs to, so many people. And you have brought smiles, right, from people just all around the world. And so I just want to thank you so much for being on Served Up. And I want to wish you just some great health and a lot of peace. Trixie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.